What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Happy Skews Day to you. As you are watching this, it's Tuesday, July 8th, 2025. And we're recording this on Monday, July 7th at 1:30 p.m. on the left coast. That's the moment in time we're coming to you from. This is Weekly Skews. I'm Trey. That's Mark. How you doing, Mark? Nice and toasty
Good.
over there?
Yeah, keeping warm. It's a hot one in LA, and Border Patrol just invaded MacArthur Park to ride horses around and do nothing for a photo op for Fox News. It looks like, can't really tell. So
A bunch of old people in my Burbank neighborhood who are apparently part of the Border Patrol. I didn't realize that. They do a lot of riding horses and not doing anything over here in Burbank. There's the horse people of Burbank. I don't know if you're aware of them, but yeah, they've been here for generations. They just ride horses around the neighborhood, and I don't know what else they do.
Anyway, Fox News audience around the country can be relieved that Los Angeles is safe from a dozen kids kicking a soccer ball around or something. So the Epstein files have finally been released, and they are nothing. Pretty funny. The DOJ took 6 months to release a file that had nothing in it, so that's cool.
Well, did they release anything? I thought that they released a thing that said there is no list. Like, there's no list.
Right.
He killed himself. There's no list. He wasn't actively blackmailing anybody in power. Now shut the fuck up and leave us alone about it, is essentially what they said. And, of course, people like the illustrious Cat Turd, are pretty put off by this. It's kind of a watershed moment for a lot of those people, because it's like this was the moment of truth for them because they've been holding out hope for so long that that those files were the key that were necessary to, unlock the secrets of the shadowy, global cabal of elites that were doing pedophile stuff, and Epstein was the linchpin, and Trump was going to fix all that, and he wasn't involved in it, and yada yada. And now, how do they play this, Mark? Like, how do Cat Turd and them play this? I've seen them calling for Pam Bondi's head, trying to make her a scapegoat. But
a lot of them are pointing out that Bongino, Bondi, and Kash Patel had different roles in government during the Obama administration. I think Bondi was AG of Florida, so I'm not really sure how to connect the dots there. But she was in government while Obama was president, so it's the Obama's doing the cover-up or something. But some of them already, one QAnon guy I find hilarious, so follows his general musings. He was mad about it for about 2 hours last night. Then by this morning, he had pivoted to a new conspiracy theory that had nothing to do with sex trafficking or Epstein or pedophiles. The new hotness is Chinese drug cartels have bought up a bunch of abandoned real estate in rural Maine and are currently running illegal marijuana grow operations in sardine canneries. So that's what we got to worry about now.
That they couldn't do no better than marijuana. Marijuana feels like old hat. You want to go with I don't know, hyperketamine or something. I know you can't grow that, but you'd think they'd do something a little more sexy than fish weed, marijuana, and sardine factories. But what do you think about this outcome? Like,
I'm more comfortable with the murk than most people. I never thought we'd ever know anything because again, it's like the reasons that they haven't gotten to the bottom of it yet, and it's not. There's two lists, all right. There's the list of whoever's doing like whatever pervert stuff, and then there's the much longer list of everybody with a 8-figure net worth who was just hanging out with him all the time, plus Chris Tucker. All right. Yeah. This is more about the other long list people being embarrassed than it is people being up to a bunch of criminal shit. And also just like the general influence of money over politics and stuff. So like, I never thought we were going to know. And it's
right. Because there's just too many people with too much money and power that would be at the very least embarrassed. Yeah. Like at the lowest level, embarrassed by this coming out. And so that just means that it won't. So it is like, that's like a low level conspiracy theory, but that also just seems likely, but always has seemed likely. Like, they were always stupid to expect that Trump would be the hero they needed who could push through those layered levels of corruption and bring forth the truth of the matter. Like, that was always stupid. Because I agree. I also always thought we would never really find out, but that doesn't mean that, like, it was like elite rich people like Diddy, and I know Diddy is rich too, but it's like, like that they were at the very least like people like Clinton and fucking old Dershowitz and people like that were going to like honky Diddy parties,
right?
On Epstein's island.
To me, it's more about the fact that even after he was publicly outed as a person who had like sex with underage people, they were all still sitting at dinner parties and bow ties with him.
Right.
That's, to me, that's more of what it's about than,
yeah,
than they're all on tape. But then, you get the fact that they announced this like a day before Netanyahu's making a White House visit has completely fucking enraged a certain part of the megasphere, and I find that deeply funny. Moving on, before we get to the show, we got two possible topics I'll let you choose between. They are the state of race relations in America or porn. Now, I want you to choose carefully here, Trey. Cake or death?
Yeah, well, I'll go with cake. Not that you framed it that way. I mean, yeah, porn, obviously. It seems like a safer bet, but,
Well, it's fitting because we were talking about Texas today and the flooding in Central Texas, and this is Texas related. So, Supreme Court on Friday handed down a decision upholding Texas's halfway porn ban, where basically they're trying to require everyone to upload their driver's license to porn sites to prove they're over 18, so you can
right.
Which the effect of which means even people that are legally of age have to inform the government whenever they're jorking it. All right, so There you go.
Yeah, in the small government utopia of Texas,
Yeah, the small government utopia where we can't rescue drowning campers, but we can stop you from watching porn, and ICE will raid your birthday party.
Right.
So the downstream implications of this are pretty fucking hilarious if you know anything about the history of like Supreme Court porn jurisprudence. Okay, so I think a lot of people are aware of the question of whether a particular film or photo has serious artistic value is obviously in the eye of the beholder, and that's where that famous quote from Justice Potter Stewart comes from, that pornography is, I know it when I see it, right?
Yeah. And I mean, in my opinion, that's fair enough.
It is. It's true. That's why it's stupid to try to ban it. This is going to end up banning books about being gay, right?
Yeah.
So, but last time they tried to do this stuff, the result of which was that for a lot of the 1970s, Supreme Court justices had to meet in the basement of the Supreme Court to watch porn movies that were the subject of various cases and prosecutions. Okay. So that was in order to, they wanted to see, you got to know it when you see it. So they had to actually watch the porn to see if it was porn, right? Mm-hmm. So let me quote here from a book by Bob Woodward and Scar Armstrong called The Brethren, where they describe these as, quote, thoroughly humiliating experiences. Justice John Marshall Harlan, for example, was nearly blind during many of these screenings, so one of his law clerks had to describe what was happening on the screen to him, often prompting Harlan to exclaim, "By Jove," or "extraordinary."
What is a British aristocrat doing serving on our Supreme Court? By Jove. Yeah, I mean, that's straight out of a movie right there. That's incredible.
But the bank shot of this is that people that make porn aren't completely stupid, so they try to come up with workarounds, which is let me quote here, filmmakers will often try to work within the court's, quote, serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value framework by including political discussions or similar matters in a movie that was otherwise about sex. For example, one such film ended with a speech, quote, on the comparative merits of communist and Western societies. Mm-hmm. So, today's porn stars, prepare to learn to recite John Rawls with your mouth full. Oh, dude,
that's a fun history lesson on the Supreme Court and porn. But this current situation with the Texas thing, this iteration of the Supreme Court has just upheld their archaic ruling, right? So I assume other red states will probably follow suit soon, and
Yeah, probably. But might get a national version of this law. But also, it's funny if you know anything about Clarence Thomas's history. He's really into porn, so he probably just improved his job 40%. He'll spend half his day watching porn videos in a Supreme Court basement.
Does that mean? Are you saying that is it still a loophole that if you made a porn and had a girl, recite a poem while getting railed or whatever you just said, that? You could call it art, and then it would circumvent this law or whatever. You wouldn't have to do that. No, this is an art web. This is an artistic erotica website, and it's not.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They'll get dinged, and they'll go to the Supreme Court, and Clarence Thomas will watch their videos and decide whether it's more porn or more more political expression. So then we'll just it'll be a case by case basis for every porn ever made.
All right. Well, good luck to them with that. Glad to be out here in godless California, but. For the nonce at least. Well, this is Weekly Skews. Before we continue, I got some Announcements to make, as always, same announcements as every week. You know them by heart at this point. If you want to see me do stand-up live and in person, go to TreyCrowder.com and check out my upcoming tour dates. If you're in Los Angeles, tomorrow night, Wednesday, July 9th, I will be at the world-famous Largo at the Coronet in West Hollywood, one of the best comedy venues in the world. And there's going to be some very hitting comics on that show with me who we're keeping secret, so please come out if you're in the L.A. area. This weekend I'll be in Tulsa, Oklahoma at the Looney Bin. Love that club, too. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then I got a lot of other dates after that: San Diego, Omaha, Des Moines, Kansas City, Indy, Austin, St. Louis, and more in the near future. Go to TreyCrowder.com. Check out my upcoming shows. You can also see a link to my most recent special, Trash Daddy, on YouTube. Please watch that if you haven't already. Thirdly, if you want to hear more from producer Matt and also about the good that's happening in the world, that's right, because there is good happening in the world, what you can do is you could subscribe to the audio version of this show. Some people have written in saying they don't know what that means. So like the podcast version of it, if you have a podcast app on your phone, Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever, search for Weekly Skews on that and subscribe to it. And then on there, that's where you'll find the audio exclusive producer Matt hosted show, Good Skews, which he just started recently. Good people doing good things. So check that out. And finally, if you want more of this here show, you can get it by subscribing, signing up for Patreon. Go to patreon.com, search for my name, or go to weeklyskews.com/more. $5 a month get you access to 2 full-length bonus episodes. We do regular additional episodes of this show, but we also do ones where we answer your questions. We're halfway through the summer Q&A right now, so we just answered a bunch of questions. We got more coming in the future. It's a lot of fun. Get some more Skews in your life and support the show in the process. Sign up on Patreon. Please consider it now. As for the show tonight, we're going to keep it focused on Texas and the horrific, nigh-biblical tragedy that has happened there, and all the bullshit that has, in fact, surrounded it before, during, and after. So we're going to get into that a little bit later. But first, we begin with the Daily Dumbass. Matt, graphic, please. Tonight's DD, the Democrat Deep State Illuminati for chemtrailing the people of Texas with glacier freeze Gatorade.
Hey, we're camping in this beautiful state park in Texas, and it's been raining, and the water that's coming out of the sky is blue. And it's not this tarp, because it's happening on this tarp too. Look at that. This is crazy. Are they chemtrailing us in Texas?
You cut it, Matt. So that video has millions and millions and millions of views across TikTok and Twitter, and this kind of thing, that's clear to me. I mean, Occam's razor to me is that's blue Powerade or something. Got poured on a tarp. I've never seen antifreeze colored rain before.
I haven't either, but I do know that like it's rained frogs in places and fish and stuff. Things that get picked up by tornadoes and drop down elsewhere. And there's, weird shit can happen with rain. So it could be something, but it's not Jewish chemtrails. Like, I know that much, but, or you could just be, you're right. That guy's it's just a hoax. That guy's bullshitting everybody. I like the added extra layer of that he added to it by the caption was misspelled. It said cloud seeding and it was spelled SEADING. So, making it more believable.
It didn't really help that Texas was trying a small-scale cloud seeding project in the area a couple days before, so we'll get to the cloud seeding part of this later. But this kind of video fascinates me. I remember back during when they were rolling out the vaccines, that people would pretend that they were magnetic and and have coins stuck to them and stuff that they clearly glued. You know what I'm talking about? So those people know they're faking, right? But when they see another video of somebody else faking, they'll know it's real. And this guy clearly faked his video some way, and then other people watch it, pretend it's real, and then he'll watch their videos and pretend they're real. It's like they're trading off, stealing each other's noses. And when they take the nose, they know they took it. But when someone takes their nose, they suspend disbelief and believe their nose got taken.
Yeah, I always thought that kind of thing with whenever I would hear Scientologists talk about operating thetans and stuff and the powers that they have, and Tom Cruise is the highest level operating thetan, which means according to their scripture he should be able to levitate and be telekinetic and all this other stuff. And I was always thought okay, but I mean he knows that he can't float, right? He has to know that. But
maybe he thinks he can, but he just chooses not to, Trey.
Yeah, right. I mean, yeah, he could be so delusional. You never really know. But yeah, I always wonder that type of thing with people like this. Like you said, like they have to know in their heart that it isn't happening to them. So did they just think, oh, I'm being, everyone else can do it and I'm being punished with not being able to do it for some reason, but I have to hide that and pretend I can do it, or else I'll out myself as, not being chosen for the truth or something, or is it it's just funner to, pretend? I don't know.
I guess. So yeah, let's talk about because like the governmental response to this, it feels like everything is the Uvalde Police Department lately. And like so here's Mike Johnson on Fox News Sunday. If you got this video, Matt, talking about the flooding in Texas and the National Weather Service and the government response.
And federal resources have just poured into that area. Is there anything more that can be done congressionally, legislatively to help these folks?
In a moment like this, we feel just as helpless as everyone else does. I've talked to my colleagues there in Texas, Chip Roy and August Pfluger, whose families, that's Chip's district. August's daughters were at the camp. We also had Betty Carter of Georgia, had grandchildren there. It touches so many families, and all we need to do at this moment is pray.
Okay, all we can do is pray. Yeah, that's all you can do is pray, Mike. That's why you don't fire the fucking scientists and deploy the National Guard for all over the country elsewhere for bits. It's like, so if you guys aren't keeping track of this, there's a horrific flash flood in Texas Hill Country over the weekend. As of this earlier this afternoon, the death tolls climbed to 100, including 28 kids. There's like 18 summer camps along the Guadalupe River, which is the river that flooded. It was the Guadalupe rose 26 feet within 45 minutes in the middle of the night. It's swept through an area of hill country dotted with summer camps and small towns about 70 miles west of San Antonio. I want to talk about the government response and stuff and the wingnut response, but as far as the human catastrophe of it, I read a quote from a parent, and it's absolutely heartbreaking. It's hard to eulogize an 8-year-old because they're a lump of everything and nothing. They're full of possibilities, but they haven't done much, because they're only 8. And she was like, she liked spaghetti, and that fucking that crushed me.
Yeah.
It's like she didn't get to do anything else but like spaghetti and run around at summer camp for a little while. The layers of this we're going to be talking about, there's the Doge end of it, which is whether or not the National Weather Service saw it coming after all the budget slashing. Right. That's how whatever information they had was communicated, which is pretty stupidly and poorly. It's about how they had completely lacked the state capacity to evacuate thousands of children at 10 o'clock at night. Then there's the lunatics, including Marjorie Taylor Greene, formulating conspiracy theories before a lot of the dead had even drowned and survivors were still sitting in trees. So, for context, I lived in Texas for 11 years. I miss it. It's a beautiful place, full of a lot of wonderful people. Hill Country is very, very beautiful. It's also known as Flash Flood Alley. It's a long crest of land that curves from near Dallas down to San Antonio, then westward. The hills are steep, and water moves very quickly when it floods. It's a dry area with soils that don't soak up water, so the flood sheets off quickly, and shallow creeks can rise really fast. And Texas as a whole leads the nation in flood deaths, for context, and by a pretty wide margin. Texas leads the nation in flood deaths, train deaths, and deaths from messing with Texas. So don't go there and do any of those 3 things.
Well, at least they tell you about the messing with Texas part. I didn't even know about the floods, let alone the trains. But if that part of the hill country is called Flash Flood Alley or whatever, then why do they, you said there's 18 children's summer camps along that river where it flooded, but it's one of the worst places in the country for flooding. It just seems like, I don't know, feels like that's ill-advised. I mean, I'm saying this as a person who lives in California, which spontaneously combusts every year.
I mean, the last time there was even remotely a big problem, I think, was 19. It was like 10 kids drowned like 20 some years ago, I think, in a flash flood, but nothing like this. This is like a 500-year flood, right? So just for number for the flood deaths, data from 1959 to 2019 showed like close to 1,100 people had died in flooding in Texas over those 6 decades. The next highest total is Louisiana, was 693. So basically close to double the next state, which is Louisiana, which is a swamp, but of course has a much smaller population. Like I said, it was 1987, so more than 38 years. Last time heavy rain in western Kirk County quickly flooded the Guadalupe, triggering flash floods similar to this one. That was when 10 teenagers died. San Antonio just last month at the edge of hill country was hit with a flash flood on June 12th. They just killed 13 people whose cars were swept away. So yeah, it's just like Texas is flat, a lot of thunderstorms. There's nowhere for the water to go. Cars get swept away. People are cocky drivers in Texas because they think it's the kind of place where people think four-wheel drive helps you on ice, you know, because that's what commercials tell you. So as far as the Doge part of this, the rhetoric around this I find utterly frustrating because you cannot draw a straight line from cutting a weatherman and a person dying. That's not how any of this works. Budgets are a statement of, its old expression, budgets are a statement of values, right? What are you willing to invest in? Are you willing to invest in a robust National Weather Service on the off chance that being aware of stuff will save lives? I am. A lot of people aren't, apparently, and they're in control of the government. And that's what this is about. It's not about whether or not specifically one or two guys being fired in each field office has directly killed people. As much as I would want to sit here and tell you that it did, I want to see Elon Musk die in prison as much as anyone else. But like, I don't think anybody being intellectually honest can say that. Nor can the people defending the cuts saying that because we can't draw that straight line, we can't make any sort of criticisms. All right, because it's not just like they're gonna. So here's how these arguments tend to go. Is conservatives are going to shit on the National Weather Service for underperforming here and use it to justify further fucking cuts.
Right, but didn't they already make cuts to, agencies or whatever involved in the National Weather Service and NOAA and things like that? And like,
yes, Doge. Right. Basically, they the exact numbers I'm not tremendously sure of. The actual budget cuts don't come until the one big beautiful bill they assigned. But Doge did. Right. Fire like 1,000 people and offer early retirement to like 800 other people who took it.
Right. And I saw those clips too that some people dug up of various meteorologists and weathermen and stuff. At least a couple of different ones doing their job one night, giving the weather, and then talking about the cuts and stuff. And this is before any of this happened, and being like, just so everyone knows, like, this will impact our ability to accurately predict stuff like this, or to deliver warnings like this will have a real impact, and I'm worried about it. And they said that beforehand, then this happened, and people have dug that up now. And so I mean, like, yeah, you're just saying you can't like definitively, like you said, draw a straight line from these people who were fired in this office to this happening here at this time. But it's like, right, you can't prove that. But like, Let me give you an example of what I would talk about. That meteorologist you're talking about was in Florida, I think. He was talking at the beginning of hurricane season about how they're not going to be their forecast about hurricanes going to be less accurate. And what he's referring to, he's not just talking about staff cuts. I think what he was referring to mostly was the Trump administration revoked NOAA's access to DoD satellites they were using to see in the clouds. NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Agency, has 2 airplanes. When you see the hurricane chasing movies where they're flying an airplane into a hurricane, they only have 2 of those. They do most of the watching the hurricanes, seeing into those clouds with DoD satellites. Trump administration took away their access to that. I don't even fucking know why. Right. It's just fuckery. If you told me the reason was they just want more people to die in hurricanes, I'd be like, that makes as much sense as anything else. Right. I mean, how is that even? That's probably not even costing much extra money. The satellites are there anyway. Right. It's just like, yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. Well, so I'm saying, so it seems, So I don't know if the National Weather Service, which is under NOAA, if they'd had access to those satellites, would have seen the flash flood coming. That guy might have been asleep at his monitor. He might have not put 2 and 2 together. He might not have thought to check those satellites. But the fact is, they did not have access to them. Right. Yes. So you're just saying, it can't be proven that those cuts directly led to this. But like, it still feels like it's the type of thing that, when you're making sweeping cuts like that people warn against, and then, and it happens. It's like you said, and then the Texas Republicans blame the National Weather Service, regardless. And it's like, I don't know. Yeah. So like people did see this coming. Like 5 former National Weather Service directors from bipartisan, from both parties, wrote an open letter on May 2nd, said, quote, "Our worst nightmare is that weather forecast offices will be so understaffed that there will be needless loss of life." In case anybody remembers or is wondering, the dismantling of NOAA and National Weather Service is described starting on page 674 of Project 2025 and is well underway. And their main reasons are twofold. One, weather forecasting is part of the, and I'm quoting here from them, the climate change alarm industry. And 2, the guy that owns AccuWeather is a big Trump supporter, and he wants to they want to privatize this data so he can, so this one
one or two guys can fucking sell it for money and make us subscribe to the weather. Or we can all live in a libertarian paradise and we all do our own weather forecasting. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, guys. So as far as talking about like the level of bullshit we're operating here, and Texas officials were blaming the National Weather Service for inaccurate forecasts that underestimated how much rain was coming if they could have seen it coming. But the Weather Service is defending themselves like, well, they're as good as could be expected given the enormous levels of rainfall and the abrupt escalation, and the staffing shortages suggest a separate problem, those former officials said. The loss of experienced people would typically have helped communicate with local authorities in the hours after flash flood warnings were issued overnight. Because when you think about who they fired and who they offered retirement to, it's the more expensive people.
Yeah. Older people that have been there longer, and also you offer early retirement. That means they're by definition, that's more experienced people. Yeah.
So Trump administration's defense of itself is like some of these offices were actually overstaffed. And I'm just thinking, okay, what you did was you fired a guy who had 22 years of experience, or offered him early retirement, 22 years of experience, and he was making like 150 grand a year, and then you hired three 23-year-olds straight out of Bible college, don't believe in dinosaurs, and paid them 35 grand a year. And you saved 55 grand, but you have more bodies you can point to say they're not understaffed. You expect us all to fucking buy it. Mm-hmm. So the National Weather Service's San Angelo office, which covers some of this area, was missing a senior hydrologist, a staff forecaster, and a meteorologist in charge. The San Antonio office, which covers other areas hit by the floods, has significant vacancies, including a warning coordination meteorologist and a science officer. Warning coordination means the guy who coordinates the fucking warnings, obviously.
I know. Yeah. Well, I feel like again, I feel like the way you got into this whole part of the discussion here, whatever, was about saying, like, if you're going to be intellectually honest, you can't say definitively that this caused it. But then everything you've said since then, I know it's not definitive, but like, it still feels pretty damning to me.
Right. What I'm saying is I can't prove they could have saved more lives. Right. I'm saying they're not trying. They're definitely not trying their best to save lives.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
And that to me, that's the way to put it.
Right.
Like if they spent 3% more money out of the 100 people that have died, could they have saved 20 of them, 30 of them? What's the dollar amount value on that? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So so the staff members we're talking about are meant to work with local emergency managers to plan for floods, including when and how to warn local residents and how to help them evacuate. The San Antonio office's coordination meteorologist left on April 30th after taking the early retirement package that Trump offered. And there's a story from earlier this year about the guy. People were openly worried about this happening when it happened. The vacancy rate of those offices is roughly double what it was when Trump came back to the White House. You'd think that positions like this are just basic roles that would be filled in a country that has a ton of theme parks, half the world's nukes, and 7 stock exchanges. We have the fucking resources for this shit. Mm-hmm. Like a senior hydrologist, I don't know what the fuck that does.
Right. But
I don't want to know.
Yes. But you know enough to know that they do something. I think that a lot of people, this is what I was about to say anyway, before you said senior hydrologist. It's apparently there's a lot of people, it's like, if they even see line, they don't know what that does either. And so they're like, why the hell am I paying for that? Like being my tax dollars. If the government has all these hydrologists and shit like that, on staff, and people who also don't know what that means or what they do, they default to like, well, then that's bullshit and we shouldn't be paying for that anyway. Nobody even knows what that is. It's like, well, it's important. You just don't know what it is. There's a lot of things that are important that you don't understand, right?
Yeah.
And we still need those things. But that's, I don't know. It's like they always just think that these things are just line items on a spreadsheet or something like that, and not actual things that could actually impact your actual life, not just people but you. It could be you that's impacted by removing some of these, line items.
Also, because all these people are money-grubbing psychos, I also want to point out this, like, accurate weather predicting and climate predicting is good for the economy. How do people plan their crops and harvests and, like, orange juice futures and shit?
Isn't that like the foundation of like meteorology and weather forecasting and stuff? Goes back to like farmers' almanacs and stuff and trying to predict, you know what I mean? Like it was all about farming and agriculture and crops and harvest and shit. That's what got us into the whole weather predicting game in the first place. You know, it helps everybody to know what's going to happen.
If you're giving boat tours on Lake Travis, people can book with confidence, knowing that they won't get rained out. It helps your fucking boat business. I don't. Everything's so short-sighted now. This is by the way, the proposed NOAA budget for 2026 contains the literal line item total for climate research $0. They put zero in there. Fuck. Get into the FEMA part of this. FEMA's not functioning right now, really. Like, state officials all over the country are basically saying they can't get FEMA on the phone. Quote, "We've been ghosted by FEMA," said a director of emergency management from North Carolina. In Wyoming, more than 90% of the state's emergency management budget comes to the federal government, and the request for clarity on emergency management funds also gone unanswered. Basically, FEMA's decided that every bit of communication the agency does has to go through the acting administrator who's appointed by Trump. So no one can send a fucking email or return a phone call without this person doing the emailing or talking. And I'm betting the person only has 2 phone hands. So everything's just fucked. And Trump has said that they're going to phase out FEMA and leave all emergency responses to the states. And he was asked about it again yesterday in the middle of all this. By the way, there's flooding going on. There's emergency flooding, catastrophic flooding happening in North Carolina as we speak. So not just in Texas is this happening. Here's Trump yesterday answering this question.
Are you still planning to phase out FEMA?
Well, FEMA is something we can talk about later. But right now they're busy working, so we'll leave it at that. Go ahead.
All right, let me translate that for you. We'll find a 15-minute interregnum where FEMA's not juggling a bunch of flaming turds we handed with climate change and burned their fucking building down.
Right. Yeah. Even just acknowledging that they're busy working right now, shouldn't that, isn't that like an implicit, acknowledgement of their necessity or their usefulness at the very least, like to be like, well, I can't really talk about whether I'm going to cut them or not because they got so much stuff to do.
We're going to leave it all to the Cajun Navy, baby. The couple hundred rednecks with bass boats that drive all over the country to these sort of happenings as volunteers. They're going to fucking, they're going to be our national response team, I guess. It's worth pointing out that since Alligator Alcatraz is kind of up and running, it was built with $450 million in FEMA money, and it's already flooding from mild rainstorms.
Yep.
So while children drown, it's useful to remember that we're raiding the FEMA budget to build this thing that's also drowning.
Dude, I didn't even think about that part when we were first talking about Alligator Alcatraz, which I should have, but like whenever there's going to be at least one gnarly ass hurricane, right, come through. There's probably multiple ones because it happens every year now. And one of them goes through there with that ramshackle operation they've thrown together down there. Like, that's going to get real ugly fast.
Or they'll have to spend a bunch of like federal and state resources evacuating a bunch of people that did not need to be there and be forced to abandon the people that live there. So it's like they do have something close to unlimited financial resources, but there's only so many planes to go around. Just a useful just an example about how fucked up our politics are. I read a thing a while back about there's currently a big debate in Iceland over whether it's acceptable to raise the yearly university tuition to $1,500.
Right.
I went to try to.
What is it here now? The average yearly tuition.
Both your kidneys.
Yeah.
I went to go try to find out what the resolution of that debate it was, but there's not a lot of coverage of Icelandic news in English. But I was able to discern that they're currently having all-night debates in the legislature over whether or not they should hike fishing fees. So it's like, the guy named Guomunder's like, we're going to raise it 2% or I'm going to fucking kill you, Helgi. And we're like, should we let children drown or not? Fucking Jesus Christ, this country.
Yeah, but they got snow trolls up there, so at least we don't have to worry about that.
Dude, what would Border Patrol do if they saw a fucking snow troll? It's weapons free. So we're talking about this austerity, fucking extreme austerity in relation to flooding today, but this dynamic's going to keep playing out. Last week, this is a story from last week where Department of Health and Human Services eliminated the CDC staff who make sure birth control was safe for women who are at risk with other health conditions. So it's a small team that like they basically test different, women have stuff like heart disease, lupus, sickle cell, obesity that could like interact different ways with like birth control medicine. And this is the team in charge of seeing which birth controls actually don't harm women with which conditions, and they've just been completely disbanded. So if you're wondering if you can use a NuvaRing with type 1 diabetes, fucking feel it out, man. It's vibes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. So now we get to the communication part of this, because that's the part where you can directly pin stuff more directly, pin stuff more directly on people's decisions. When asked why the summer camps in the area were not evacuated, Kerr County Judge Rob Kelly, he's the highest ranking county official, said, I can't answer that. I don't know. And then he was asked about their lack of a local warning system. And he said the county did not have a warning system because such systems are expensive and local residents are resistant to new spending. Taxpayers won't pay for it, Mr. Kelly said. Or you could make your fucking case as a politician and be a leader, you goddamn psycho. So we got the federal government refusing to spend money, the local government refusing to spend money. What's the state government doing? Well, I think the power grid's a good comp where it works fine as long as nothing goes wrong. So they're just generally in all directions they underinvest in public infrastructure and disaster mitigation. And their immediate response to this, are you familiar with the Briscoe Kane, Trey?
I don't know. It sounds familiar.
He's a state house rep. We talked about him before, and his first response to this was to tweet, "We cannot allow this great tragedy to be used to grow government." By the way, we got to emulate the Uvalde Police Department and resist public outrage calling on us to do anything more or better at our jobs.
Right, yeah. Yeah, we can't let this failing of government influence us to improve our government in any way. It's the one thing we cannot do.
We cannot let our failure lead to us trying.
Mm-mm.
Right.
No matter what.
But one of the thing that bugs me with this guy is he walks and talks like a big tough cowboy, and he has the name of a big tough cowboy. But if you want to see what he actually looks like, throw this picture of him up there, Matt. He's a fucking dweeb.
Oh my God. That's Briscoe Kane?
Yes, it's Briscoe Kane. I think the last time we talked about him, he was wearing a cowboy hat in the airport going to Philadelphia to stop the count. So it would have been 2020, I guess. So state lawmakers also failed to pass a bill that would have funded a better emergency system, including warning sirens for floods. Now, when I lived in Dallas, all over DFW, when there'd be like a hurricane warning, you'd get the sirens, so everybody would know to stop mowing your yard and go inside. Okay. This is what they refused to fund, was just sirens that would honk outside to wake up the campers. Instead, the county chose to rely on Facebook updates, which according to local media would not have been seen by the campers or their counselors who were not allowed to bring their phones with them.
Mm-hmm.
The state and county's plan to notify these kids and counselors of an emergency was to post on Facebook about it, of a website where no one under 40 goes on.
Right.
In an area where they didn't have their phones with them.
Yeah, I never thought that like siren. Now, I mean, I will say you're more familiar with this area than I am, but unless it's changed since I've been gone, and I highly doubt it has. Like where I'm from, also doesn't have, because I used to be kind of afraid of tornadoes as a kid, and I used to be upset at the fact that my hometown didn't have any. I knew tornado sirens were a thing. I'd seen it in movies and stuff like that, but we didn't have those, But we didn't have like anything. We also didn't have street lights. We didn't need street lights. We could have done with tornado sirens, but so I'm from a place that doesn't have one, and I always just took it for again. It was just like, yeah, well, we ain't got shit around here. But I didn't think that it was a thing that anybody opposed or would vote against. If it was brought up. Like I feel like most people, if you live in a place that doesn't have tornado sirens and is subject to tornadoes periodically, if you ask people, were you cool with us having tornado sirens? I would have thought most people would be like, yeah, that's fine. I didn't think people would be like, curse the tyrannical government that would suggest such a thing.
It's also so one of these camps is Camp Mystic, which is like a 100-year-old camp for like the wealthy elites. The daughters of the wealthy elite of Texas. Like LBJ's daughter went there. Laura Bush was a counselor there. so on and so on. So when Mike Johnson was talking about a couple different Congress people who had grandchildren at these camps, that's kind of what he's talking about. So these state politicians would not invest in warning sirens to warn their own fucking relatives, their grandchildren.
Right.
So it's yeah, man. At least you can't say they don't believe in their own bullshit. NPR put together a timeline of the government's response to this, which essentially was just internet posts because they didn't have the best information because the Weather Service was not totally on top of it. And what information they had, they were trying to get out basically via just Twitter/X and Facebook. This is like utterly weird. I can't believe they think this is the best way to get word out. Right now, currently on Twitter, one of the most popular ads being served up is from a guy in Michigan. He's paid to boost his posts. He has 107 followers, and he just posts ads all the time saying that CPS in Michigan took his kids and put him on the sex offender registry because he, quote, exposed the truth about Kamala Harris. So just scroll past that guy to get the information about whether your kid needs to be saved from drowning. Mm-hmm. Like, this is the thought process here.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually, too, because it used to be if you followed some, like you could follow Kerr County warning system or something, and if you did that, whenever they posted something, you would see it if you followed them, but none of those services, social media services, none of them work that way anymore because of what you're talking about, because of, like, you got to pay to boost posts to have them seen. I don't know if governmental entities can get around that or not, but yeah, like, even if you follow place to see these types of things, if they post it, you might not necessarily, depending on how the platform works to begin with.
And it's like you got to also have to be on your phone at midnight on a Saturday,
right?
So this is also in a context where, like, Texas has emergency alert systems like everybody does, but they overuse the fuck out of it. Like, I think we've all, like, you and I got a bunch of dummy alerts during the fires out here, but imagine getting those 4 times a day, and that's what it's like in Texas. Because you got the silver alerts, they're the home of the originators of the Amber Alert. They've also got something called a blue alert. Basically, every time a cop anywhere in the state gets hurt, everybody's phone fucking blings. Like late last year, the FCC got thousands of complaints over a blue alert in northern Texas. A cop got shot in Memphis, Texas, which is in the Panhandle, and a bunch of people in North Texas, like the Dallas area, got fucking blue alerts at 5 a.m., woke all their kids up and shit. And so people have started figuring out how to turn off the alerts on their phones so they can get some goddamn sleep. Memphis is 8 hours away from from Dallas-Fort Worth, so I'm not even quite sure what the fuck the point of it was, except to let everybody know they should be upset over a cop getting hurt.
Right.
So I guess it's state prop. Either they just don't care, or they just we got to let everybody know that the thin blue line's standing firm, or some shit.
So those alerts that happened on all of our phones or whatever, those are state controlled. Like, if I was in Texas at that time, I would have gotten an alert on my phone about a cop being shot there. Like, does each state send those out? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, who's in charge of that?
I think they're regional authorities who greenlight it, and there's also like a statewide one. But like, either way, these kids didn't have their phones. There's no thought process. Really, the only thing that would have worked is sirens.
Right.
That's all that would have worked, because they're kids sleeping on a weekend at a camp on a remote river. So, some of the loons and cloud seeding for a little bit. So this video was all over the MAGA internet over the weekend. This is filmed on a plane flying over the United Arab Emirates a couple years ago.
Let's see some class. Look at this. So I flip this to L2, and then I bring this to 1, and fire. Now look at that. Five, fire.
Okay. So cloud seeding is real, okay? We make fun of people to complain about the weather machines, but this isn't a real thing. But as far as the general efficacy of it, I just want to point out that was filmed over the United Arab Emirates. And by now, surely we've all heard about the thriving Emirati rice paddies. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? People have been trying to figure out cloud seeding for 80 years. The general consensus is that it can increase precipitation 5 to 15% under the right conditions in a few clouds here and there. In the U.S., most of the experiments have been used trying to increase snowpack in the western United States in the winter to try to make the summer droughts less fierce. They also reduce hail, which would be a big boon to Texas insurers, which is funny because if there's conspiracy here, it's like Flo from Progressive being a Bond villain with a weather machine. It's also worth noting these are state-run initiatives for the most part. It's not some like federal DARPA thing. I mean, they could be hiding the paper trail, of course. Who the fuck knows? But I just think the reaction to this, considering like if this worked,
right,
it would be a panacea.
Why use it for this? Like if you had this machine and it worked that well, yeah, you could do what they're trying to do. Saudi Arabia would be a verdant, fields of plenty if this technology worked. You'd see it, and because they certainly have the money for it, and so why keep it completely secret just so you can drown a bunch of campers in Texas? Like, and for what? Like to scapegoat the Trump administration and make them look bad or something? Is some sort of like ecological false flag to make people worried about climate change because we're so concerned about propagandizing that? These are the reasons that the Jews make their weather laser do stuff like this past week in Texas.
They're telling themselves that one, it's the Biden holdovers trying to make Trump look bad over the budget and Doge cuts. It's trying to make people believe in climate change. And there's also a third part of it where there was a recent gas-powered power plant greenlit for $175 million in Kerrville. And they think, just like they convinced themselves that the North Carolina floods were for, they could use eminent domain to get mineral deposits. They think that this is like so they can seize land to build the power plant or something, which is like, the degree to which these people are mad about things that are legitimately infuriating, like, for example, disaster capitalism, like, that's a good thing to have a sense of injustice over. There's a town called Altadena, California, where there's currently being completely bought up by moneyed interests to turn a historically black community that burned down last year into, like, fucking McMansions and shit. But this is not that. It just isn't. They're going to build the power plant. They already had the land. Mm-hmm. It doesn't none of your theories hold water. Marjorie Taylor Greene over the weekend announced on Twitter she's going to introduce a bill to ban cloud seeding and weather manipulation. So my entire life, with regard to climate change, the evangelical angle has been to say it's silly to think anyone but God can control the weather. This goes back to like
what about Noah, the gays? Oh, that's right. God controlled the weather in response to the gay stuff. Right. Yes, that's right. Yeah. So
it's because, well, again, that doesn't even make sense because the whole thing is the reason they believe that is because the rainbow after Noah's Ark was a symbol of God's promise to never again flood the earth. That's why they think the climate change can't cause the seas to rise because God promised He would never raise the seas, drown whole cities again. But then again, He's flooding New Orleans because of butt sex. So it doesn't even make sense internally. Now they've got a version of God that's apparently in a fight to control the weather with the Democratic Party run by Chuck Schumer and George Soros, and God is losing this fight, apparently. And again, the point of this, the reason they're trying to like do this Looney Tunes Acme fucking cloud seeding shit, it's mostly just to like dupe investors out of money. I don't think it can ever really work that well. But if it did work, the whole point is to try to combat droughts that are caused by climate change, or just droughts in general. So we can't invest in stopping climate change. We can't fund FEMA to rescue people from the effects of climate change. We can't fund sirens so people can rescue themselves from the effects of climate change. And we can't allow the funding of research to assuage on the margins. We've got to make that illegal by getting rid of cloud seeding. So, like, why would we have fucking the ability to make it rain everywhere and have California be running out of water? Who is it that controls these fucking machines?
That, too. We brought that up when the wildfires were happening because they're talking about them, too. And it's like if the Jewish cabal has these weather machines that can bring forth a deluge, you don't think they'd put fucking Los Angeles out? You know? Like Hollywood? Like this is their mecca, isn't it? Poor choice of words, but you know what I mean. This is, fucking... Right. It just doesn't. It's always, to me, the question of like, to what end is usually where these types of things fall apart. for these theories and everything that they have. Because it's like you said, people have been trying to call forth rain for people fucking, fucking rain dances and shit. Like it's been a thing throughout all of humanity.
Aztecs did ritual human sacrifice, so to make the crops grow. Like, yeah. So one of the main companies that does cloud seeding is called Rainmaker, and Rainmaker did confirm they flew a few 20-minute cloud seeding missions on July 2nd over Karnes County, which is southeast of the flood zone. The operation targeted 2 clouds that reportedly dissipated later that afternoon. Don't need to trust them. A veteran Houston meteorologist who knows his shit about this, named Travis Herzog, weighed on it, called the theory scientifically unfounded. Quote, cloud seeding cannot create a storm of this magnitude or size. In fact, cloud seeding cannot even create a single cloud. All it can do is take an existing cloud and enhance the rainfall by up to 20%, and even that is on the high end. Anyway, the CEO of Rainmaker has agreed to go on a live X space this afternoon, hosted by a conservative conspiracy theorist named Amuse, to respond to this scrutiny, so I'm betting that's going to go really fucking well. The CEO, by the way, Trey, his name is the CEO of Rainmaker. He's not going to beat the evil fucking psycho Bond villain allegations based upon his name alone, which is Augustus Doricko.
Yeah. It sounds a little Harry Pottery, too, to me, like a J.K. Rowling type name.
Yeah. Augustus Doricko. Just a fucking Scrabble tile, like a random Scrabble tile and drawing of names. He is a former Peter Thiel fellow, which means he got a grant to do his stupid ideas. This is what he looks like, if you want to see. This is a...
What?
This guy's the CEO of a tech company. He's got a jean jacket. What does that shirt say? Jesus Shrimp? I don't fucking know. He's got a mullet, fucking really killing it. Here's a picture of him floating around the internet, hugged up with Bill Clinton. So he's not beating the fucking Illuminati Epstein Files allegations.
So this just real quick, just because I think this, because you pointed out that I didn't notice the shirt. You pointed out the shirt, so I started looking at his shirt, and this isn't what it says. But I thought for a second that it was a shirt with pictures of Jesus without a beard, with clean face, and I thought it said Jesus shaves on it.
Oh, that probably makes sense.
That's not well. That isn't what it says. But now I want to make and sell shirts that have that on them because I think that's a funny idea for a joke too. I've never seen that before. Jesus shaves. It's just clean shaven Jesus. That's funny.
Jesus always has a bare chest in the paintings and shit.
Yeah. I know. I'm just saying. I've said, Jesus saves. Obviously, I've just never seen that play on it. I thought Augustus Doricko was the first one to get there, but no, it doesn't say that. I can't tell what it says either. It does look like Jesus Shrimp. I don't know, but anyway, I thought that's what it said. So
yeah, it's pretty funny to me. This guy started this like company that basically does nothing, but he makes billions of dollars off of it based upon his connections and like the powers that be being dupes for stupid technological fixes.
It's the name of the game, buddy. It's the name of the game. Drew sent us a thing in our group chat earlier that the former CTO, so, a top person at OpenAI, the Chat GPT company, is starting their own AI company with no product, no plan, no projection, no ideas, no nothing.
Yeah.
And it's been valued at $10 billion. After raising this person, her name's Mira something. She wouldn't take less than Mira Murati wouldn't take less than $50 million per investor. Refused to take she won't get out of bed for less than $50 million a person. And the company's been valued at raised $2 billion in the most recent round of funding, valued at $10 billion. And again, they don't have a product or an idea or anything. They don't.
No, let me read the press release for you. Maria Barati, former OpenAI CTO, has steered her 6-month-old venture. She's been working on this for 6 months. 6-month-old venture, Thinking Machines Lab, to a $2 billion seed round at a $10 billion valuation, remarkably achieved without a disclosed product, revenue, or business plan. She holds decisive control on the board and weighted voting rights from her voting rights eclipse all the others combined. So she completely controls this company. She's just taking $2 billion for a bunch of random people at $50 million a pop. It's positioned in stealth mode and supported by high-profile ex-OpenAI talent. The deal exemplifies a shift toward, quote, pre-planned funding, where reputation and founder vision outweigh traditional metrics.
pre-planned fund. So it's like people are getting billions of dollars before they even start to think about what the plan is going to be.
Yeah,
and it's working. It's like, dude, got into the wrong.
So
wrong
basically, it's like, what I have in this box is worth $10 billion, and they're like, can I see it? She's like, no, and they're like, wow, it must be really cool.
Yeah.
Just like, so, but this guy, his company does nothing for a very high price point, can't really accomplish much, but because of his shady fucking personal connections, I think he might get himself murdered. Like, these psychos are fucking like, it's another like string board going to Peter Thiel for a thing people think is connected to fucking a psychotic conspiracy theory. It'd be a real shame if these guys forced Peter Thiel into hiding, like he had to move into his New Zealand bunker a few years early than he was planning on. But yeah, I saw one MAGA person posting about this. It's like, quote, President Trump has patriots in all the key agencies, so why are these events still occurring? Yeah, I mean, you're almost there, buddy. Keep going.
Right.
It's almost like there's nothing occurring. And also, the part that kills me about this, if you want to be a conspiracy theorist, like, there is actually a giant conspiracy to secretly modify the weather. It's been going on for like close to 100 years. Some of the biggest companies on earth have funded disinformation campaigns in every major newspaper about it and bought off politicians to hide it. Mm-hmm. It's happening right in front of you, and Texas is an oil state. You're fucking surrounded by it.
Right.
Just look around.
And see, again, there, if they ask the same question I said earlier, like, you know, to what end, it's very easy to answer. You know what I mean? Like, industry and everything, billions, trillions of dollars at this point have been made over hundreds of years on the backs of, you know, the Industrial Revolution and fossil fuels and all that shit. And that's like, that's a lot of power and wealth and influence. It's very, very, very motivated to deny that it's killing the planet, right? So it's like, it actually makes sense. But when you turn around and you say, if the Jewish mega cabal that's got the weather lasers, whatever, why would they use it in this way? Then all they have is the fucking basement dwelling red string corkboard bullshit that doesn't, you know, hold up to any real scrutiny at all. And we're the sheep. You know what I'm saying? Like they're the ones who are awakened to the truth. Like they really believe that. It's
wild.
Go ahead.
There's a conspiracy of all the world's scientists who went to 14 years of school to make $12 an hour to fabricate climate change, and they're being upended and pushed back on by the small gang of the world's pluckiest billionaires and oil companies.
Speaking of the world's pluckiest billionaires, right before we go, I was going to ask you what you think about Elon's new political party. If you're going to be,
it'll never do anything. Like it's like so what is he going to do? He's going to pick like 3 Congress people to try to primary who he hates the most and fail, and then fucking wander off and do something else. Mm-hmm. I mean, Elon never does anything he says he's going to do.
Right. That is true.
So, yeah, it's like, it is funny that they're fighting. Like, he's all over the Epstein thing all day today.
Right.
It's just like Elon really thought the Republican Party loved electric vehicles and really believed in cutting the deficit. And it really hurt his feelings when they didn't want to do those two things. It's like he's born yesterday perpetually. I can't fucking understand it.
Yeah, well, the first half of that, I don't even know what would have given him the slightest impression that they want that. like the cutting the deficit thing, it's like ostensibly they do want to do that. They act they do care about that.
They act like they do care about it.
I know. That's why I said ostensibly. I'm saying they at least profess to want that. But fucking electric vehicles, they've been calling those gay since they came out. Like, the people who wanted your electric cars are out here in commie-ass California, and you fucking alienated all of them, so, you know.
Yeah, I guess he thought they could not be so... He thought their public position that where rolling coal was good and electric cars were gay was so obviously stupid they couldn't actually believe it. Mm-hmm. That was just grist for the rubes. And then he got in there and was like, wait, these are the rubes.
Yep. They actually believe it all.
And they fooled me. What does that make me, Elon?
Yeah. All right. Well, that'll do it for us this week. Thanks for watching. We hope you'll return next week, but also in the meantime, please go to TreyCrowder.com and check out my upcoming tour dates. Come see me at Largo if you're in LA this Wednesday, and Tulsa this weekend if you're in Oklahoma, and then all the other places after that. You can also check out my special Trash Daddy. Listen to producer Matt's new audio exclusive on the podcast version of this show called Good Skews if you want some good uplifting news. And then also you can get more of this show by signing up on Patreon, weeklyskews.com/more, or go on Patreon and search for my name. $5 a month, 2 full-length bonus episodes. Either way, if you keep coming here on Skews Days, we will too. And we'll see you in about 7 days. Love you. Bye. Skews.